McKenzie Dern, Henry Cejudo, Tony Ferguson, they all want to continue fighting. Everyone's been told maybe this could be it after their recent losses. But I want to know, guys, which fighter can have the most triumphant comeback if things go their way? Matt, back to you.
I'm going to say Henry Cejudo. And the reason is because I think Merab Dvalishvili is going to do that to literally anybody in this division at this point. So I just think it was a nightmare matchup for Henry Cejudo to come back on after fighting Aljo, last year. So I think it was a tough matchup. If he does get that fight against Moreno, I think that's a winnable fight for him. And I think he can win still a lot of the fights in the division as long as he's motivated to do so. That's kind of like the question mark for me at this point with Cejudo. Does he still want to be all in on fighting, or does he just kind of want to show up? So if he's all in on fighting, then I think he can still beat 90% of the division. It just depends on how much is his heart into it at this point.
Mm-hmm. It's a good start. Yeah, for sure. I agree. Cejudo is. I thought he just ran into a freight train, but I still think he fights well. Danny?
I'm going to go with McKenzie Dern. For those that have been following me for quite some time, know that I've been one of McKenzie Dern's biggest supporters. Even before she joined the UFC, I always thought that she could be world champion back when she was fighting. She had that developmental deal and was fighting outside of the octagon, still being a UFC fighter, I guess. I'm going to die on this hill till the day she retires. I do think she's got a ton of potential. I mean, you just look at her game, and she's got a huge advantage over literally the entire roster, like female roster. Like, there's no better grappler, or at least jiu-jitsu practitioner, than McKenzie Dern. And the adjustments that I feel like she needs to make in order to really achieve her full potential and become champion are not that difficult, I think. Obviously, easier said than done, but you just lock McKenzie Dern in the Olympic Training Center for wrestling for 6 months and just let her develop a nasty double, like have her work out on her neck muscles and a bunch of deadlifts. And all of a sudden, you got a problem. Because clearly, once she has you on the ground, she's a menace. You add a nice double leg, some ground and pound, plus her existing jiu-jitsu, and I feel like she's bound to become champion. So again, it's just really these small adjustments that I feel like McKenzie Dern just needs to make in order to fully turn the corner. I've been hoping for those adjustments for years prior. I still think she's got time. She's just 30 years old. Unlike Ferguson or Cejudo, I do feel like their athletic years, or the best part of their athletic years, in the past. So it's mostly about maintaining now. I feel like if McKenzie Dern and her team don't take short notice fights and actually focus on certain things, I think they still have a very high ceiling. So I'm going to go with Dern here. But again, I've been dying on this hill every single card, every single fight. And, she's certainly hit a limit. But I'm hoping that, maybe in future fights, she's able to break that. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. No, I hear what you're saying. This might be a bad example, but I thought Claudio Puelles, he's got great jits. He's a leg lock guy, right? But it takes the wrestling to get there. And he had great wrestling in that fight. Just came up a little short because he couldn't maintain his positions. He obviously needs to improve his kickboxing. But yeah, some of these fighters that are very good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if they can just shore that up and dedicate themselves to wrestling, they can be a nightmare. Goes, how about you, man? Can somebody of those three do something that it would be a triumphant comeback for any of them?
Man, you guys did me dirty. You left me Tony Ferguson. I just can't make an argument there for him, but I'm going to actually pick somebody outside the box. I agree with both what these guys are saying, especially with McKenzie Dern. That's just a skill set that doesn't matter how many losses you have. You plug her into a championship fight, she's somebody you have to worry about, right? But outside the box, when we talk a little bit about retirement and people coming back, Kevin Lee. I think if Kevin Lee, back in the day, he could compete with just about anyone. And it really was more injuries that were hurting him. He had a very well-rounded game. I think if he can get those knees back to 100%, I think he can get some wins here and there. Maybe not 5 straight, but I think he could win 3, lose 1, that sort of thing. It seems like mentally he's just in a different place now. He seems more happy. And right now he's kind of figuring out that contract deal. Is he going to end up back in the UFC? Is he going to go other places? I think that kind of plays a big role in it, but I think he can make a splash if he can get back healthy a little bit. But if I have to pick from the list, then I'm probably going to say I think McKenzie Dern can do something.
You know, Kevin Lee was like 15-2, 16-2 before he ran into Ferguson at that interim title fight. And he was doing really, really well. But since then, it hasn't gone well for him. But he was a problem for people, man, for sure. He had, you know, great wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and he had started to develop a kickboxing game. I'm definitely cheering for the guy. He was a Vegas guy for a long time. But goes, I will make a little quick plea for Ferguson. This guy won tough, all right? This guy won 12 in a row. This guy has an interim belt, got a lot of respect. Even John Anik's leading the charge. I think one win, if he can just get out of there with one win, we're not going to forget about the 7-fight losing streak, but I just think it's going to be a nice way to end, and I think it'll be a proper send-off, maybe possibly even into the Hall of Fame. But that's all it takes is one win, man. I thought maybe Jim Miller might be the opponent or just another OG. But I hope he can pull it off, and that's all we want. I think a lot of Ferguson fans. It's just one win to erase, you know, these last 7 fights, and he's put together quite the resume. All right, let's do a couple quick additional.
That's how people lose their life savings in Vegas, George.
Oh, yeah?
Just one more. Just what? The train is gone for Ferguson. I agree with everything that you said in terms of his accolades, but man, I really worry about him. I don't know if you guys kind of got worried with the same comments as well that he made.
I haven't heard that. I know he did a recent interview with.
Till the wheels fall off, right?
The wheels fall off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong, man. I don't want to talk out of both sides of my mouth. I have expressed concern before as well, not just for him, but a lot of fighters that have, whether it's been the losses or the concussions and the time put in, we want them to remain, you know, great people as well, to go along with the great fighting careers that they've had. And I've seen it happen in other sports. I don't want that to happen to these guys and gals.